This is your News Source Evening Bulletin for today, Monday, the 2nd day of January in the year 2023. I'm Gordon Mosley, reporting and wishing you and your families a happy new year. Now here's what we're tracking tonight. 2 policemen remain under close arrest over the shooting death of another policeman and a fisherman. The incident took place early on New Year's morning in the east coast of Marara village of Huntley in Maikoni. The Guyana Police Force's Public Relations Department has identified the dead policeman as 31-year-old Detective Corporal Dwayne McPherson, while the dead fisherman's name has been given as Kishun Bumbur. Initial reports have indicated that at around 12:30 on New Year's morning, the police responded to a domestic violence complaint at the home of the fisherman. It is reported that during the arrest of the fisherman, he became confrontational with one of the police ranks and a fight broke out. In response, it is reported that 2 other policemen opened fire. The fisherman and the police officer who was effecting the arrest were both hit and they fell to the ground. The Guyana Police Force said the fatal shooting incident is being investigated and that 2 police ranks have been placed under close arrest pending the outcome of the probe. The Police Force's Office of Professional Responsibility and the Major Crimes Unit are leading the investigations. Police Commissioner Clifton Hicken met on Sunday with the family of the policeman and the fisherman who were killed. He said he intends to be very transparent with them and promised that the force will be conducting a thorough and transparent investigation into the deadly shooting.
We are going to promise you as an organization that we are going to have a comprehensive investigation done, and we are going to keep you ball by ball abreast of what we're doing. I just came from over the river. Of course, you see these police are straight to this community. That's a major crime from Georgetown and the Office of Professional Responsibility. And so they would normally conduct investigations that incidents involving police. And so as the commissioner, I am transparent and I want to be transparent to you. And whatever happened will be revealed at a later stage, and whichever direction the DPP advise, so shall it be, right?
During a visit to the home of the police detective who was shot dead, family members broke down in tears as prayers were offered up for them.
Father, we thank you that we can come to you at this time to receive from you strength and comfort. We pray, Almighty God, that in this hard, real sad situation, that you will turn up among this family and comfort the officer's wife, even the unborn.
The Guyana Police Force has promised to provide regular updates as the investigation progresses. More news coming up in a moment.
It's been a long time coming. Overdue, some might say. But now that it's here, it will change life forever. And it is here to stay. The future is now. Transforming Guyana into the 21st century. Introducing GTT Fiber. Experience internet connectivity like never before. Speeds you deserve at prices you can afford from a name you can trust. Sign up today. GTT Fiber is here. GTT. Together, we rise faster.
Giftland Office Max, we're all about customer satisfaction. Whether it's clothing and shoes for the ladies, gents, and kids, or for the latest electronics or hardware appliance, we're always thinking of satisfying you, our dear customers. Now you can shop online at www.giftlandofficemax.com or visit us at the Giftland Mall, where we're happy to serve each and every one of you.
Fireside suite, standard and unique. Room fresh and nice, comfortable and neat. 24-hour whole day we a do it. Affordable price down a Garnet Street, yo. Can't vex, cause we top of the line. Fireside are the best, 5-star we a shine. From you come one time, we tag a left on your mind. To tell your family, your friend, them one more time say. Best service a Fireside suite. Safety ensure down a Fireside suite. Price them cheap down a Fireside suite. Come enjoy your stay down a Fireside suite. Fireside suite located at 154 Garnet Street, Kitty. For bookings and reservation, call contact number 623-3473. Mate Queen.
Get in the game with Buster. Win a full gaming setup, Xbox X, gaming chair, gaming speaker and headset, or any of over 60 weekly prizes like Oculus Quest 2, Mini 2 drone, Nintendo Switch, and many more top gaming prizes. Check below for details.
Tonight, police investigators are continuing their probe into the shooting of a mechanic in the parking lot of the Movie complex just outside the Outside Bar and Lounge early on New Year's morning. The injured mechanic has been identified as Olafi dos Santos. He's nursing multiple gunshot wounds at a private hospital here in the city. According to reports, dos Santos and two of his friends, who are businessmen and brothers, were preparing to leave the area when the two friends got involved in a fight with a security guard, and dos Santos rushed to defend them. The three had been partying at the Outside Bar Movie on Saturday night into Sunday morning. As the three men were leaving the bar, they parked their car at the entrance to the bar and were abraded by a security guard for the bar. Persons who were nearby said the men became incensed when they were told by the security guard that they should move the car from the area since it was blocking the entrance. The two businessmen, who have been identified as brothers Aaron and Errol Baptist, hopped out of the car to confront the security guard, reports indicate. One of them lashed the guard across the head with a liquor bottle, causing the man to fall to the ground, a police report stated. A fight broke out between the guard and the two businessmen as all the guards became involved. A police statement said that it was at that stage that the mechanic Olafi dos Santos was seen jumping out from the back seat of the parked car and rushing to the aid of his friends. He was seen brandishing a firearm and started to shoot into the air. The police suspect that other persons who were in the parking lot opened fire in return, hitting the mechanic, who fell to the ground. His friends, the Baptist brothers, hopped into their car and sped away from the scene, leaving him behind. He was later taken to a private hospital where he was admitted with multiple injuries. The injured man was taken into surgery and is reported to be in a stable condition. While it remains unclear who exactly shot him, police investigators have since arrested the two brothers, who are both firearm holders, and have seized their weapons as well as the firearm license. They remain in police custody. Police investigators were at the scene earlier New Year's morning, picking up spent shells from the parking lot. The investigations are ongoing tonight. Reflecting on the last year as one which saw the government moving forward with an aggressive infrastructure and economic development plan, President Irfan Ali has announced that this new year will see sustained economic growth, along with increased opportunities for citizens and businesses.
In 2023, we shall roll out policies, programs, and projects to ensure that the fruits of this growth are more equitably shared amongst our population. Our primary goal is shared prosperity, one which is characterized by reduced inequality. In this regard, no region, community, or village will be left behind in our quest to create a one Guyana.
Among the plans for the new year are major road transport works, including the Linden to Mabura Road and the completion of the Eccles to Diamond Road link, intensifying the digital transformation of Guyana and commencing the work on the National Hospitality Institute, the President said in his New Year's address. He also said the government will continue to invest in the agriculture sector in its effort to see expansion and sustained growth. President Ali announced that there will also be more attention given to fighting crime and modernizing the health institutions across the country. In the field of education, more support will be provided to schools and the nation's children.
We're going to provide the resources that can provide our children with world-class education. As such, This year, we'll intensify teachers' training to ensure that by the end of 2025, all teachers in our public education system are trained. All students will be entitled to universal secondary education. The school feeding program will be expanded. This year, we will also begin consultation on plans to ensure that every child receives a rounded education. Every student exiting school should have exposure to at least one sport, one musical instrument, one foreign language, one technical and vocational skill, as well as be imbued with a sense of volunteerism and social responsibility.
Meanwhile, he said new programs are expected to be rolled out this year to support the empowerment of women and youths, as well as the elderly and those who are disabled.
Our plans for this year, 2023, will lay the foundation for the establishment of a post-2030 state. We envision a country which, at the turn of the next decade, will be the energy and industrial capital of the Caribbean, a prime tourism destination, a regional food security and transport hub, and a competitive knowledge-based and low-carbon economy. The post-2030 Guyana will be inclusive and wedded to sustainable development.
The president said all citizens need to cultivate the right values to ensure development is realized, noting that there should be service, self-sacrifice, social responsibility, and solitude. Guyana is projected to see major economic growth this year as the oil industry is set to increase production. In his New Year's address to the nation, opposition leader Aubrey Norton broadsided the government as one that lacks compassion and competence, noting that citizens continue to face the high cost of living with little effort by the government to address the situation. He has accused the administration of discrimination.
We endured more rampant ethnic and political discrimination. This led to certain groups unduly benefiting more than others, and certain communities being better treated than others. We believe that all Guyanese and all communities should benefit. Unfortunately, this is not the case in present-day Guyana. From our outreaches, we have witnessed poverty among all Guyanese, and we commit ourselves to addressing this issue so that all Guyanese can be removed from the breadline and poverty.
The opposition leader, who was elected to the position almost a year ago, said currently Guyana is not a society based on democracy and the rule of law.
We are forced to withstand more and more attacks on our human rights and personal liberties. We continue to experience trumped-up political charges against opponents of the government. They are becoming increasingly more arrogant, exclusionary, and lawless. The actions of the government threatens social cohesion and make us distant from realizing our motto of one people, one nation, one destiny.
Mr. Norton said in this new year, the opposition will continue to engage the diplomatic community and widen the list of countries and international organizations that it will engage to bring attention to the ills of the current administration and the impact on the citizens of Guyana. The opposition leader said too many citizens are facing despair, and that must be addressed. Norton also said the opposition will continue to keep the pressure on the government to implement cost of living relief measures to ensure fair and equitable allocation of resources to citizens, and will also continue to defend the rights and freedoms of citizens and the communities. Mr. Norton said the reality in Guyana today is that the lives of citizens are deteriorating, even in the face of end-of-year bonuses and salary adjustments for some. According to the opposition leader, the opposition will continue its work and prepare for the 2025 elections with the aim to get back into power, since there is a need for more vision and people-centered policy.
Fireside suite, standard and unique. Room fresh and nice, comfortable and neat. 24-hour whole day we a do it. Affordable price down a Garnet Street, yo. Can't vex, cause we top of the line. Fireside are the best, 5-star we a shine. From you come one time, we tag a left on your mind. To tell your family, your friend, them one more time say. Best service a Fireside suite. Safety ensured down a Fireside suite. Price them cheap down a Fireside suite. Come enjoy your stay down a Fireside suite. Fireside suite located at 154 Garnet Street, Kitty. For bookings and reservation, call contact number 623-3473. Matic Queen.
In the world of business and finance, 1 year after the enactment of local content legislation for the oil and gas sector, the Private Sector Commission has reported that more Guyanese businesses have increased their capacity to serve the oil and gas sector. Under local content laws, Guyanese nationals and Guyanese companies receive priority in the procurement of goods and services for the petroleum sector. More than 400 businesses have been registered with the local content secretariat since the legislation was passed and enacted. According to the chairman of the Private Sector Commission, Paul Chang, measures should now be implemented that will see more Guyanese-owned businesses benefiting from the oil and gas sector.
Since the enactment of the local content law, Guyanese businesses have increased their capacity to service the industry and to continue to do so. So it is time that those targets be revised to allow more local businesses to provide the goods and services required in the oil and gas sector. Over the past year, we have enjoyed a close working relationship with the local content secretariat, and in 2023 we anticipate continuing this relationship where we can express our concerns and share information.
Mr. Chang said that advocating for local content in the oil and gas sector remains high on the agenda of the Private Sector Commission. And with efforts on the way to review the one-year-old legislation, the PSC has already made a number of recommendations.
We acknowledge that efforts are on the way to review the first schedule of the local content law, and already through our local content forum held in November, businesses have put forward several recommendations they would like to see incorporated into the law. That report has been submitted to the local content secretariat, and the Private Sector Commission is looking forward to seeing a number of those recommendations taken on board.
The Private Sector Commission chairman also said his organization welcomes the government's commitment regarding the drafting of regulations and guidelines to accompany the Local Content Act. And the PSC stands ready to work with the government and key stakeholders to ensure that new regulations and guidelines are put in place at the earliest time. The PSC has also issued a call for there to be greater monitoring and enforcement of the regulations under the current legislation. Let's tell you now that the Guyana Public Service Union believes that public servants have been left in a dilemma with the government's continued non-appointment of a public service commission in more than a year. In a statement on Sunday, the GPSU said in the absence of the Public Service Commission, the government has been injecting the public service with political operatives, and there are high levels of political interference in the public service. The GPSU noted that it is the government's responsibility to espouse policy for the public service, but it ought not get involved in the day-to-day operations of public service entities as is currently being done. The GPSU said it took the government 7 months after it wrote to the president recommending several measures to alleviate the hardships being suffered by healthcare workers for the government to act. The union noted, however, that when the government did act, it did so without ever acknowledging the union's correspondence, and the measures recently announced by the president for health workers will only address some of the needs of some of the healthcare workers in the country. GPSU President Patrick Yard said the actions taken would obviously alleviate some financial woes of a few healthcare workers, but failed to address the high cost of living, the heavy and continuous exodus of medical personnel from Guyana, improved remuneration generally for other health sector personnel, hours of work, education and training, succession of planning, work environments, and upgrading and re-establishment of quarters and hostels in regions and sub-regions. Mr. Yard said the government remains stubborn in not engaging the GPSU on matters related to the public servants of Guyana. The GPSU said the breaches of government, including its interventions in the work of the public service and attempts to destabilize the GPSU, were brought to the attention of the International Labour Organization 2012 2 years ago. The union said reoccurrence of the same abuses has resulted in work being prepared to file another complaint on recent developments to the International Labour Organization. The union believes that the government's overall negative posture towards the union and employees' benefits has significantly contributed to an absence of trust between the union and the government. The GPSU noted it remains unwavering in its challenges to the government of Guyana on the issue of the negotiation of living wages, salaries, realistic allowances, and conducive working conditions towards bettering the work of the public sector workers.
Max Supermarket, located on the ground floor of the Giftland Mall, is your one-stop shop for all your grocery needs. We stock a variety of imported frozen meat and food products, fresh produce, and pet supplies, freshly made bread. Rotisserie chicken and patties are also available daily. Shop in comfort today at Food Max and let our courteous staff assist you in satisfying your shopping needs. Food Max, the fresh food specialist.
It's one of your biggest goals, getting your own home, where memories are made, where happiness lives. You may feel that home ownership or renovation is beyond your reach, but we at Republic want you to know that there's always a way. Ask us about our suite of mortgages. Let's help make your housing wishes come true. Or advise on how the equity in your existing home can finance other dreams and goals. Call or go online to learn more.
Buster, win a full gaming setup, Xbox X, gaming chair, gaming speaker and headset, or any of over 60 weekly prizes like Oculus Quest 2, Mini 2 drone, Nintendo Switch, and many more top gaming prizes. Check below for details.
Fuel it up and drive, Super 95. Tune up, fuel it up and drive, Super 95. Tune up. Protect your fuel system, boy. High mileage and performance, boy.
Guy Oil's Super 95 gasoline gives you more reasons to drive and is available at 56 service stations nationwide. For affordable price, high performance, and high mileage, choose Guy Oil's Super 95 gasoline.
Fuel it up and drive!
Across the region tonight, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has been sworn in as the new president of Brazil, the third time he has held the country's highest office. The veteran left-wing politician known widely as Lula also led the country between 2003 and 2010 and defeated Jair Bolsonaro in last October's elections. In his first speech, Lula vowed to rebuild a country in terrible ruins. He decried the policies of his predecessor, who went to the US on Friday to avoid the handover ceremony. A sea of Lula supporters gathered in front of Congress since early in the morning, decked out in the red color of his Workers' Party. They traveled to see their leader sworn in, but also for a celebration. More than 60 international and local artists were booked to perform on two giant stages decorated in the national flag as part of the music festival dubbed Lollapalooza. The new president and his incoming vice president paraded through the city in an open-top convertible before proceeding to the Congress building, where the swearing-in ceremony occurred at the start of the formal inauguration. The president and the vice president have spent the past day selecting their cabinet and appointing supporters to key state-owned businesses. Shortly after being sworn in, Lula sought to instill a sense of hope to the people of Brazil and promised to rebuild the nation and make Brazil a Brazil for all. In Mexico, dozens of inmates escaped from a prison in northern Mexico on Sunday after gunmen suspected to be members of a drug cartel opened fire in the facility. The gunmen arrived outside the state prison shortly after 7 a.m. in armored vehicles and began firing on the guards. 10 guards were killed along with 4 prisoners during the attack. The police said some 24 inmates escaped. Fighting within the prison, where inmates from different criminal gangs and cartels are housed in separate blocks, also left 13 people injured. 4 of them are being treated in hospital, prison authorities have said. Outside, relatives gathered, hugging each other and crying as they waited for news about their family members back in the prison. The city has seen years of violent clashes between various criminal gangs. The prison was also the site of an uprising last August. And finally tonight, international news. Tens of thousands of people are expected to pay their respects to former Pope Benedict XVI at his lying-in state in the Vatican. He died on New Year's Eve at the age of 95, almost a decade after he stood down because of ill health. Pope Francis will preside over Thursday's funeral, the first time a pope will be buried by his successor. As dawn broke out over the Vatican, a queue was already forming at the edge of St. Peter's Square. Benedict XVI became the first pope to resign in 600 years in 2013, citing ailing health. His body is being displayed for 3 days in an open casket at St. Peter's Basilica, with people allowed to pay their respects until 7 p.m. each evening. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley, reporting and encouraging you to remain safe.